welcome to Sober Sitdown. It's your host, Scotty Stuch, here tonight with my buddy, Anthony Arillotta from Massachusetts. What's up, Anthony?
What's up, Scott? How you doing?
Good.
Good.
So, finally we get to sit down and do our interview. We talked many times on the phone, and now we can share with the audience, some of the stuff we were speaking about.
Absolutely. Too bad we didn't record all the hours we talked on the phone.
Could have multiple episodes.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with the early years. Who was Anthony as a kid? Growing up, what did you enjoy doing? What type of kid were you?
I was always so I grew up good family. I grew up Italian parents. My father was a hard worker, had a grocery, fruit and produce store, big wine grape distributor, and I worked for him. And growing up in my life, the whole family worked there, so it was kind of like it was fun. It wasn't a job, but working for your family, it's it's an experience that you learn at a young age business, which I think is good for kids. Learning the skills, seeing, he had the biggest small business in the area. So it taught me a lot. And with the whole family working, there was like 20 of us working there on both sides of our family. And it was a good, I had a good upbringing. School, I was always in trouble at school, always getting into fights, wise guy type stuff, just running around and skipping school, getting in trouble. I like to play sports. I was big into sports.
What sports you play?
I played hockey for 10 years, and I played all the other sports competitively. Not, I played baseball, basketball, football, all of them during the seasons. We played this neighborhood against another neighborhood. And so I was a big sports fanatic, and I was also a fanatic with professional sports. I was, really involved in all my the Boston teams, the four Boston teams in the area, and sports was my big thing. Sports was the number one thing that consumed me growing up, other than doing what every kid does. I didn't like school. I hated school. Never brought books home. Never studied. But if you talk to me about sports, I really like sports. So that was and I love playing sports. So up until around my whole life, actually, I played sports. But up until 16, I played league sports, and I enjoyed that. That was that was my what I love to do, playing sports, and also, obviously we're talking street stuff. I used to bet on sports at a young age. But yeah, sports, hanging around, other troublemakers and getting in trouble and working for my father. That was my younger years.
Yeah, like me and you talked. So pretty much me and you have a very common story coming up. I grew up in my dad's restaurant. Him and my mother, they started the family business when I was just born. They had a local restaurant and bar, and it really took off after they started it up. Really popular locally. So I grew up in the family business as well. Started as a busboy when I was like 13. Like yourself, I got thrown out of 3 Catholic schools growing up. I was kind of always in the mix of trouble somehow, some way. Just doing dumb stuff like pranks, and just always seemed to find trouble where it was at. It just always attracted me. I just always got lured into the trouble. And as far as sports goes, I tried out football, baseball, all the sports, and the only one I was good at was hockey. So it's funny we have that in common as well. We used to play street hockey out in the streets, rollerblades, and then I converted it onto ice. I got really good at that, and I like to fight, so kind of went hand in hand with one another. So
that's the one sport you could fight and not get in trouble for.
Yeah, a lot of people, they say like the UFC's tough, but you don't wear gloves when you get in a hockey fight.
Yeah.
So it is
True.
it is pretty brutal.
And you don't get fined. I mean, you get a penalty. You get a 5-minute misconduct. But like, you know, if you got into a fight in baseball, basketball, football, they suspend you. I mean, hockey was like fighting was part of the game.
Yeah, it was like, that like when I stopped playing hockey, I think that's when my addiction kind of started taking its course, because I didn't know how to channel my anxiety and my anger, my aggression and all that when I got in my like mid 20s. I didn't have that hockey to take my aggression out and stuff like that. And I think when I stopped playing hockey, I filled that void with drugs and alcohol and my new
Right.
addictions going out and
Sure.
stuff like that. So
Instead of like, you know, a lot of people they'll get into you quit hockey and you know maybe get into the gym, you know, and or go for a jog, you know, go for jog and you know running to try to get it out. But going from that to nothing, it's you could see where there's a void where you need it, you know, to be filled.
yeah. And as me and you were talking yesterday on the phone, we were talking about, the different types of clientele. Like I grew up in the bar business and you grew up in the like grocery business. We were talking yesterday, and growing up, I was around all different types of people. I was around people I was introduced from my father that he used to hang out with, business owners, doctors, and then there was like some people that he knew that were kind of in somewhat organized crime. And for some reason, I always wanted to be more like the guys that had the quick cash, the women around them, the flash, not go to college and apply myself and be like a doctor, a lawyer, or something that is respectable. I wanted to be the guy that, had all that flash and glam and all that stuff. And, it's like power versus success. The doctor has success where the organized crime figure has the power and the success and is living that glam life, but one's temporary and one's permanent.
But you know what, Scott? It's like who doesn't at a young age want that? I mean, we put it like, okay, your father had criminals and organized crime figures. Okay, same thing with my family. But take that away. What kid doesn't want the money, the woman, the nice cars, you know, millions of dollars? What kid growing up really doesn't want that? And when you see it in our growing up with organized crime figures, it just makes it worse for us because we're seeing it where it can be done on an illegal way, whereas a normal kid growing up sees, you know, other multimillionaires that are legitimate, that own super grocery stores, chains of them, or restaurants, chains of them. They grew up thinking how to do it the legal way. You know, the same thing with their fathers. Their fathers know mega millionaires, and they look to try to become them because they live when it all becomes, you said power is money, whether it's, yeah, they're not killing people or but they don't have to risk going to prison either, but they still have money. So there's nothing, you know, they might have a private jet. Organized crime guys ain't got a private jet. You know, they might have houses everywhere, you know, because they have the money. And so with us growing up around organized crime, we seen that where they get respect and they have the money. And so it's like a path you want to follow. And then what happens is when you follow that path, sure, it's a great path. You can make money, but you end up in prison. And that's the difference of because everybody wants to aspire to have millions of dollars. I mean, as a youngster growing up, I mean, you want to make money. You want to become rich. You want to take care of your family. And, we just saw a side, I saw a side that was, for me, the easy way to make it, which
And
is,
I
you know,
think I think that comes down to like the word instant gratification. That's part of my addictive personality. I think, like
yeah,
you said, when we were younger, we didn't want to go to school for 8 years and wait for the success. When you
right,
see guys that like we talk about that like organized crime figures, stuff like that, they're out just hustling. They make their money. They got the girls with them. They got the flashy cars. They got the stuff. And, you can get right into that at an early age if you want. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go to college. You just have to
right,
build up your reputation.
right. And the money's there, and it's a lot of money. And if you have any type of common sense or a brain, it's very easy to make money on the streets. Um, if you're a salesman, then the streets, you're just gonna you're gonna blow up on the streets. If you know how to sell, then that's all the streets are, is selling a product, and you have access just to more and more, to your own network of people. But anybody you bump into in life, whatever your product is, you're selling it. If you're a salesman, you'll blow up on the streets. As far as street crime goes, it's is it the way to go? I don't know, but if you're not hurting people or harming people, you can make a lot of money on the streets. The same thing that the government is doing. In other words, they're not unethical crimes. If you want to bet a sporting event, you go to the casino. Well, if you're a young kid and you're in college, you can take other young kids. They want to bet this football game. You could take their bet. Somebody wants to borrow money from a bank, they can go to a bank and borrow money. Well, if somebody's short on funds for Christmas, they want to buy their family Christmas presents, maybe a couple of thousand, you can loan them the money at an interest rate. Credit card companies, banks all loan out money. You want to play the number at the store, you can go to the local bodega or the local convenience store, and you can play your number, or you can play the number with you too. So if you're a salesman and you go out and sell all those products, you're giving the consumer a lot better of a deal than they would have if they're going to the actual casinos. With sports, they can bet on credit. So there's a lot of alluring things for the streets to get into. And to me, I think it's for me, I loved it. I would do it again, except for joining any type of a gang or an organization where there's violence becomes involved. That's where I think because everybody, in my opinion, wants to make money. In my opinion, if you told somebody they could make $5 million in 3 years, and their risk was to go to jail for a couple of years, I think 90% of people would take the risk. Now, if you had to go to jail for 40 years, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's our conversation we had last week, me and you on the phone. As we said, we talk on the phone quite often, and I wish we got some of those on tape. But the thing is we were talking about having that success and gaining that power without having to apply violence.
Right.
Everybody wants wealth. Everybody wants to be rich. There's different ways of handling it than your old-fashioned organized crime where violence had to be applied. And like
exactly.
You were saying,
right.
There's a big difference between when it comes down to it and you got to go to court. When you have a violent offense or a non-violent offense, it's a lot longer sentencing.
Right.
So, I was always taught, try and be that guy that everybody wants to work for. So, like, people see that you're successful, people are going to be like, I want to work for that guy. He's a winner. He's the one out playing everybody.
Right.
And it's like Frank Sinatra said, the best revenge you can get on somebody is massive success.
Right. And you want to be with them. So do all, like, the girls want to be with them. Girls want to be with successful guys, high value men. They want to be with them. Everybody wants to be with them. So it's like, the more successful you are, the more people you're going to attract around you. There's a guy in my area, multimillionaire. And you ever see the show, The Shark Tank, where they come to the Shark Tank with deals, and they refuse a lot of them, but they'll get maybe 1 out of 20. And that's that's a great, maybe the next $1 billion industry type of a deal. But they get so many people. When you got money, and you're successful, everybody wants to be near you. Just like if you're broke or you're on your way up and coming, you want to be around those guys that are successful because they can open up doors. Whatever your business is, they can open up doors for your type of business that you're in. So it's the networking, I think, is a huge, like the people around you, the people, what you aspire to be is rich. And the majority of the millionaires in the world are legitimate. You don't see the organized crime or the drug dealer retiring peacefully with all of his millions of dollars. In fact, on paper, they probably don't even list that they got $1 million, or they probably do, some of them, but I mean they don't last. So I would say they're the rarity. They're like under 1/10 of 1%, 1/100th of 1% of the millionaires. So everybody wants to become rich. Everybody wants to be powerful. Money is power. Having money is being powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just saying about it never ends well for like that life. I can't name any mob movies that ever ended with an actual ending where it said they went on to success. You know, each mob movie came with an ending that it was either, dead, jail, or, just their career as a criminal was over.
Yeah,
His life was over.
right. And it's a great thing. Organized crime is a great thing. If there was, it's like a secret society. That's great. It's like networking, and there's only a few people that could join that, which is great. The bad thing is people die, people get, the violence in that, and it brings on life sentences. It brings on 30, 40, 50-year sentences, life sentences, which internally kills the organization. If you had the same organized crime and they adapted the way they did now, if they did that 20, 30 years ago, they'd be the most powerful group in the world.
And
If
that's
they
why
just,
me and you were talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no,
me and you were talking about like modern day. Like you don't really see much about the mob in the news lately or anything like that. But it's because they were smart enough to now start doing things legitimately with the money that was left from the older
well,
generations.
they're not just doing it legitimately. They're not killing people. That's the big thing. They're still doing illegal things. They're still doing the feds, the government doesn't care. Yes, they're going to come at you. They're going to come at you for sports bookmaking. I mean, you got to be super big for them to come at you. But the main reason that they come at you, there was some sort of underlining uh, violence involved in that. And when even if you crack someone's head and put them in a hospital for 6 months, they're coming for you. That's violence. But when you kill somebody, it's even worse. And the reason it's worse is because now they look at it, they're drooling because now they got a murder case for them. They don't care about who died. They don't care about who killed them. They don't care about none of that. What they care about, it's going to be a big case. A big case means a big promotion where they want to go. They have aspirations too. They want to be U.S. attorneys. They want to be judges. They want to become, with a major corporation and be, like CEO or something. So they have aspirations to get in that life also. So they don't care about nothing else. And when you drop a body, that's the feather in the cap when they get the conviction. If you're not dropping bodies, they arrest you. There's nothing that the mob does that can put you in jail for a long time if there's no violence in it. Nothing. That's why I'm saying I would go back to the lifestyle in a heartbeat, just no violence, and don't join, because the racketeering, they give you their 20 years, but they only come at you. If you notice all the racketeering cases that they give those guys 20 years plus enhance them 5 years and 10 years on it after they get 35 years, there's violence involved. They might beat the murder of the racketeering, but they got convicted of all the other stuff. So the racketeering, they get 20, then they get 10 years. They end up getting hit with a 35-year sentence. That's because the government knew they killed 6, 7 people and they got away with it. So the violence is the thing that it brings the law enforcement down. And you notice, what did they do with the Italians? I mean, they came out Italians for forever, right? Now the Italians aren't killing people no more. They're going after all the gangs now. You know what I'm saying? Because what are the gangs doing? They're killing people. So they're doing these big RICO cases, Latin Kings, RICO case against the Bloods, because that's the same thing. They're gangs, they're not organization or, whatever, like the mafia, but it's still, it groups them under that RICO law.
And yeah, I mean, you could be like as we're trying to promote right now is like the nonviolent approach. You can be really successful without having to use that muscle. You just have
Yes,
to you outplay the
use your
players.
brain. Yeah,
Use you, the guy that's down the street that's, oh, I want to be like him. No, you don't want to be like him. You want to be better than him. You want
Right.
him to be. You want him to be like, holy shit, I got competition now.
Right.
Like this guy's taking all my business. You want to be. You want to outplay the players. You want to
Yes.
be the guy that everybody wants to come to work for. You want to be the guy that everybody's like, this guy's coming into town. He's taking over everything, and
Right.
not having to do it with a violent approach, using your
Right.
brain.
And with organized crime, it's legitimate businesses also involved with that, not just street stuff. And the street stuff that organized crime does is nobody really else does it. You got sports gambling, loan sharking, numbers. Then you go into the business side of it. Who really does that? No other gang or organization does that. So they had a monopoly on all of that. But you could also do that in a way where there's no violence, and you could last for forever because it's business.
Yeah, and it's like there's certain aspects of the life that, you know, it's stupid to even want to get into now. Like, like sports gambling. Every casino has sports booking inside their casinos now. Why would you even want to get involved and entangled in
Well,
that? There's all the apps you can go on now and bet on games and get paid
right.
out
The,
right
o-
then.
the only thing the street guys got for them is you got to put up your money with them. So the sports gambling is still going to always be around with uh, organized crime or whoever wants to get involved in that because they give credit. You could bet whatever, however big your sports book is, but if you got a big enough book, you can bet 5,000 a game. You can give a guy a $50,000 credit limit. He doesn't have to put up a penny, and bettors like that. Bettors like credit. They start the week on a Monday, it ends on a Sunday. They settle up on a Tuesday, and win or lose, so they don't have to, you know, go, go and put up their if they want to bet 5,000 on the game, they don't got to put 5,500 up to win the 5,000 out of their own pocket. They can just call up and say, or go on the computer and I want 5,500 to win 5,000 on Dallas Cowboys. So that's why you'll still see sports gambling not go away. It'll be watered down because a lot of these degenerates are going to go to the casino and blow a lot of money, and then they're going to look to bet with the street guys to try to they're going to use their cash to bet at the sports books because they have to, but they're going to use the credit to bet with the street guys, and that's where there's going to be some problems that come in with that.
Which I think for the street guys, it's a no-brainer. It's high risk because now how do you collect? Back in the day, somebody didn't pay. You go in the bar that they're sitting and you go slap them around. Now, you try doing that, somebody's got a camera phone out, it's on YouTube,
Yeah.
bar fight, or guy getting jumped in a bar. It's
Right.
too high risk. And
Yeah.
it's not a good turnover. So like you have some guy that owes you $5,000. Why would you even want to get involved with that when, like we were talking the other day about legitimate businesses getting involved in running construction crews, flipping homes that are up for sheriff sale and
Right.
tax sale and stuff like that. Like that's legitimate business that's got a high
Right.
turnover flip. And if you're like street mentality, like we were talking, that'd be something that is low risk for us to have to worry about having to go in and using violence as an approach
Right.
to try and get our point across or to collect our money.
Exactly. Use your influence to infiltrate legitimate businesses, not in a bad way, in a good way. Offer a service that the business is going to want to do business with you. There's nothing wrong with that, and then grow and last out here, rather than if a guy that's normal, just a normal man, and somebody like bets the game with him, and like you said, he goes into the bar and cracks his head with a baseball bat. He breaks his arm or whatever. If organized crime does it, the organized crime guy is going to get 15 years in prison. I've seen a guy in my area, over violence with all that shit, get 16 years. So the other guy maybe get probation, because he's a nobody. It wasn't about anything. It was a fight. The guy, he thought he pulled out a knife. He hit him with whatever. There's no history of son. So that's the difference, and that's why violence is, going forward And if I could going back, I would eliminate that from the violent part. And you listen, the millions and millions and millions of dollars that you can make. I see these kids today, and they're making all the money on the internet doing, and I was making that kind of money back in the 90s. There was no internet. There was real money the old fashioned way. You had to go out and hustle it.
Well, I'd love to see, like, I have nothing but respect for, a lot of people look at me funny for saying this, but a lot of people in organized crime I have a high level of respect for. It's interesting to me. I think it's really interesting what they pulled off when they pulled it off, but I would like to see historically if, like, people like Al Capone, Carlo Gambino, Vito Genovese, those guys are around now. They wouldn't be, I don't know if they would be able to pull off some of the stuff that I don't think at all they would be able to pull off any of that stuff that they pulled off back then.
Scott, everybody, you see these guys going, oh, the old timers would be turning in their graves with the way the mob is today. And the old timers and this, let me tell you something. They say the smartest gangsters ever were Carlo Gambino, Tony Accardo from Chicago, and there's a bunch of other ones, right? Never, whatever. They wouldn't last 2 years today. With the growing up when their era, if they were made, if they grew up when the RICO came out, and don't forget in the 60s, listening devices were illegal to plant in social clubs. But back in the 60s, the FBI, before it became legal, I think they came legal in the 60s, but in Chicago, there was a lot of murders, and they wanted to know, that's how they win wars, information. They send spies, governments against governments. They want to have information is key. Well, they wanted to know who was committing the murders, who was was the boss. Tony Accardo admitted talking about 8 murders that the FBI knew. They knew, okay, who killed them, why they killed them, why they died, everything. But they couldn't do nothing with it because the wiretaps weren't. It was illegal to do that. But they knew everything. They knew everything about the outfit, they called them. They knew everything that they were doing, but there was no laws implemented. When the laws came out, they didn't start using RICO until the early 80s. I mean, it got big in the mid 80s. That's when you started hearing all this shit. It created in the 60s, I think 68, that guy Blakely, they created it, but they didn't start using it until the 80s. Carlo Gambino was dead. Tony Accardo was retired. He died right around then in the early 90s. They were old, out of the business anyways. Yeah, they were smart, but they know that you could not, especially them guys, they had the social clubs where you would have to go see them. They had their own spots where you would go, and, they were sitting ducks, just like the 80s generation and the 90s generation were sitting ducks, So they weren't no smarter than the gangsters, Vincent DiGiganti, all the John Gotti's, all the gangsters today. They were no more clever or no more shrewder or wiser or anything like that. They just were in a era where there was no scrutiny like the guys in the 80s, 90s, and up had.
Yeah, I mean, even like you go back even farther, like the Prohibition days, they couldn't even follow people past county lines. So, I mean, if you drove 10,
Yeah,
15 miles out of town, the cops were trying to pull you over. They couldn't even, you could have killed somebody. And as long
right.
as you crossed that county line, they couldn't follow you.
Yeah,
There was no such, like they had radios, but not advanced radios that like
right.
there'd be a helicopter waiting for you at the next county. You know what I mean?
And back then, you could use the we call them today like crash dummies, or you could insulate yourself back then. If the boss gave an order, there's no way the boss could get in trouble for it back then because the guy gets caught, say, bootlegging a truck of booze. Well, the guy got caught with alcohol. What's he looking at? Maybe a year in jail. 2 years. Nobody's flipping over that. He's not going to mention who the boss was or anything because of 2 years in prison or whatever like that. There was no way to they knew who gave the order. They knew the boss was the guy, but there was no prove it. There was no way of tying him into it because there was no conspiracy with this RICO bullshit that they had.
Yeah, it's a different time now, but I think it's the time that you're gonna see people with street smarts plus education that actually go out and educate themselves. They're gonna be the people that are really dangerous, because like dangerous. When I say dangerous, I don't mean dangerous in a violent way. I mean dangerous like success rate. Like you take somebody with just straight education, you take somebody that's street smart plus an education and is willing to apply that hustler mentality, not afraid to take chances and work hard at things. They're
Right.
gonna outplay the people with just straight success.
Exactly. And I think like there is no education. Education's bullshit. I think that if you are a street hustler, you're going to learn at 100 times rate than you would if you went to school and try to learn that shit that they teach you. They don't teach you nothing about money. They don't teach you nothing about credit. They don't teach you nothing about success and going after business. They don't teach you nothing about becoming wealthy. Why wouldn't they teach that? You know, becoming wealthy. Everybody wants to become wealthy. They teach you history and all this other dumb bullshit. But unless you're going for becoming a doctor, a lawyer, and you need that degree to, to do that, then I would say that you're better off not even going to school and picking something, a business that you like, learning everything that you can about that business, and just hustle the fucking shit out of it. Just like hustle, you know what I'm saying? And just concentrate on that, and you'll be multi, millionaire. You'll be so successful. You'll be one of those guys that people want to be around.
Yeah,
Because
and
when you're like that, when you're successful, everybody wants to come around you. Next thing you know, you're in the food industry, and then next thing you know, you got guys in the real estate business coming up to you because they know you're successful, and they want you to invest with them on some deal that they're gonna kill it. They're gonna make a ton of money, and then you got some other guy that's gonna open up some nightclub, or he needs you. They're all coming to you now. So your next thing you know, you started in this business, and you're in this business, you're in that business, you're in multiple businesses.
well, I was up, I was down, I was in between, and one thing I know this time around, once I bring myself back up, which I know I will at one time, I will get back up again to where I want to be because I'm not willing to give up. I never get complacent, and I always want more for myself. So just when I hit my bar, I want to keep going up higher and higher, and I keep trying to knock out goals as I go. One thing I'll definitely do different this time around, I'm glad you brought it up twice, is everybody wants to be around you. But this time around, I don't want to be around everybody. I'm
No.
going to keep my circle small because all those people that were around me when I had wads of cash, I'm in the middle of nightclubs buying everybody drinks, um, putting people in my flashy car, this and that, they weren't my true friends. They were
Well,
just using me. They were riding the wave.
they were the wrong people. So like now just like everybody knows, any successful person will tell you, any successful millionaire, and who you surround yourself is who you are. And if you introduce somebody to someone, and you're successful, and this guy's a piece of shit, and you come around somebody that's someone worthy to meet, a millionaire, someone that you want to do business with, and you introduce him to this guy he can tell he's a drug addict, or he's not dressed right, he doesn't speak right. That's a reflection on you. So going forward, it's going to be, your circle is going to be a lot smaller, but in the long run, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be more, quality is better than quantity. You're gonna have a stronger. You're going to be more successful. You're going to have the right people around you, somebody that you could go to, and it's going to be there, that you need to be there. And but everybody goes through that in life. You weren't perfect. I wasn't perfect. They aren't perfect. Everyone's got a learning experience. It's just, when do you finally wake up and learn it? Do you learn it at a young age? If you got good mentors, yeah. If you got a good, family that's instilling that in you, or you go through it hard, and go through hard times, and maybe prison, or some really tough circumstances, and then you finally realize it. That's what most people do. They when they go through hard times.
And that comes with, like we were saying earlier, I used that word education. What I meant by education, I should have worded it differently. To me, education's experience.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
all those bad things that we were just talking about, like I know what not to do this time around. is not because of education, it's because of experience.
Yeah.
I learned because I experienced it.
Right.
I seen it firsthand.
You're getting older.
You know.
As you get older, you get more knowledge and wisdom. You know, that's why these guys that are 70 and 80 years old are the smartest guys on the planet, you know, because they've been through everything. The problem is they're 70 and 80 years old. The key is to learn, you know, get that knowledge when you're in your 30s or 20s or teens, you know, the ones that do get that are the ones that are billionaires, that become billionaires.
Yeah. I think a problem of my past, and we were talking about this the other day too, is validation. Worrying about, like, when I was young and I was a kid and I wanted that quick instant gratification, I was more worried about other people's validation. Like, what do people think of me? Instead of worrying about being the image I wanted to be accepted. I wanted people to want to be, you know, what do they want me to be? And I fell for that trap. I did everything in my power to be a crowd pleaser rather than being a pleaser of myself. I turned myself into somebody that I wasn't and took myself out of character just to please other people to accept me.
And I think most kids go through that. Most, you know, young adults go through that. I think a lot of people, even adults, older adults, go through that until you click. It clicks in your head and says, "Who gives a fuck what they think?" And when that goes off in your head, eventually, I was kind of like the same way. You care about what people think, because if somebody said something bad about you or negative about you, you'd want to approach them, maybe hurt them, maybe confront them, and it could lead to them getting hurt or violence, something happening. So that's the same thing until you get to the point where, okay, if you hurt him, you go to jail. But if you really think about it, no one should be able to rent space in your head. Who gives a fuck what anybody says? And if it comes to the haters, right? The haters are, everyone's got haters. You could be the most successful guy in the world, never hurt anybody in your life, never had a violent act. Look at Trump, right? Trump has probably got 3 billion people on this planet that hope he dies. What did he do? Even, you know, whether you like him or you don't like him, he raised a family. They don't do drugs. He don't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He's worth $11 billion, $10 billion. What did he do wrong? These people hate him and want him dead. He's got haters, right? So, but guess what? He's worth 10 billion. He's successful. He's got a great family. So without haters, I think the only thing worse is having no haters. You know what I mean? Because if you got nobody hating on you, it means you ain't doing shit. You know what I mean?
That's what they said. Haters come around when you're doing things that's going to make you successful.
Haters are going to be your best fans. See how you got this show right now? You're going to blow up. You're going to be good, right? And you're going to have these trolls come on and going to abuse you and say shit. You're not going to know who they are. But guess what? They're watching you. They're watching you. So they're your fans. You know what I'm saying? They're your admirers. You know?
Yeah, and
like my haters too. My haters too. They'll watch this. They hate my guts, but they'll still watch it. So they're our fans.
Yeah, and like that's what I was gonna say next is like learning as we get older, relevance of people. Like, you know, I catch a lot of people. I think social media really made people feel more relevant, and people could see what people are up to. People could see what the people have, because pretty much social media, you can use it for marketing, you can use it for networking, but a lot of people use it for bragging rights, and they use it to be keyboard warriors to attack people. Because I know so many people locally that they get tough on keyboards with other people, and I've seen it firsthand, but I know if they weren't in front of the other person, they wouldn't act like that. So, like, I'll see, like, you know, you'll be in a crowd of people, and somebody will be scrolling through their phone, they'll be like, oh, look at this douchebag just got a brand new car. Look at, he's posting it on Facebook. And what really, like you just said, like, the person that just showed that picture to everybody is actually the one that just lost, because
sure,
you just made that person relevant in your life because you're hating on them, because no matter if they earned it or if they didn't earn it, whether they came from a wealthy family and their family bought that car for them, or they work a job or they're educated and they have a job that they can afford that, or they're out doing illegal shit and they got that car. No matter what, that person won because the other person just made them relevant.
Right, and the guy
But you
that's
could have just kept scrolling.
yeah, the
You
guy's
could have just kept scrolling.
right. Like the guy is jealous. I tell my people that I like in life, when somebody, the guy was jealous by doing that, and he's exposing himself as being a jealous hater. Because with jealousy becomes hater, becomes anger, becomes all the bad shit, but it starts with jealousy, right? And I tell all people that I like is, when somebody badmouths you publicly, don't respond. Don't feed into it. Just if they message you, just block them and move on. You know, they're usually 90%, 99% of them don't have no. Who has fucking life, the time, and like I considered I did bad things in my life. Who has time to the mental evilness to go on all day and badmouth people for their success, and then hiding, like you said, hiding behind. And even if you put your name on it, like let's just say they're not hiding, let's just say they come out with their name. So what? So you're exposing who you really are, and you're exposing that you're jealous of this person. You have a lot of hate, and you got a lot of free time on your hand that you're not doing anything productive with it. While this guy's going out making money, out hustling you, looking to grow in life, looking to network with the right people. So I think they're irrelevant. And I would say, like, going back to your point is about hearing what people think about it. I think young kids growing up, it's hard with this social media today because, once when I was growing up, they didn't have this social media. So if like something bad happens to the kid, it's all over the internet. And for a young kid, that's like, they're mortified. They're like, it's the worst thing in the world to happen. So I feel bad so that I think young kids and they're teaching the young kids not to be tough, mentally tough. So I don't know where it's going to go, but yeah, I think you have to be mentally strong and just block all that shit out, and just like you're doing. You work, you got the show, you're hustling. So you've got no time for that side bullshit of the hate.
Yeah, a guy that came up like back in the day. He used to hang out with my dad all the time. He was a hustler, and he wasn't Italian. He wasn't like in the Italian mafia or anything like that. He actually was a different nationality, but he was a professional criminal, professional thief, and he used to tell me all the time. I mean, some of the stuff that he told me today, like, people wouldn't agree morally the way the guy acted, and society would say that he morally didn't act right because he was in and out of jail a lot. But he was always a hustler. He got out there, and he went out and got it. He owned his own business. He didn't run it legitimately, but he made it work for quite some time. He used to always say to me, like, do you know how to be successful? And I said, go to school. He's like, no. He's like, do you know how to be successful? I'm like, no, tell me. He's like, you can't wake up in the morning and go from the bed to the couch. You got to go out and get it. So these people that have time to scroll and hate, type that stuff, they could be doing something, even being on the internet, doing a hustle. Like me and you were talking about drop shipping yesterday. We were talking about different ways to make money on the internet with literally using your phone. You could be out hustling these people that you're jealous of, but instead you're taking the time out of your day to make me relevant.
They're bums. They don't have 2 cents. I mean, they're probably living on Social Security. They're getting food stamps. They got a few, little something small they're doing on the side, but they're really just getting by, and they got nothing but free time all day. So that's what they do. They troll and they do all that shit. So you made the point, like, we were talking the other day about making money, right? So here's what I want to say, and this is how I did my whole life, and this is how I grew up in my whole life. I was a ball buster. I had fun. I did all that shit. But if you should be talking like we talked the other day, about everything, right? Friendships, this and that, but how to make money. That should be the number one thing. It's like, what can we do together, or share ideas together, or how can we help each other? That's the circle and the network you want to be around. You want to be around people that's your friends. That one guy might be a lawyer, one guy might be in real estate, and you want to, when you talk to them, you don't want to talk about bullshit and like maybe 2 minutes of a book, but the majority of it is focused on what can we do to make some money. What ideas you got? You got any ideas this week? What have you been up to? And that's how these guys are doing it. They're making money when they network with the right people, and they all brainstorm, with each other. And it's like, and I remember back in the day, there was businesses I got involved in I knew nothing about, just being around the right person, talking to him, asking questions, and next thing you know, I'm involved in I'm getting in the exterminating business. You know what I mean? It was just like talking what the guy does, and talking positive, and trying to make money and grow.
Yeah, and like you watch any of these guys like Gary V, Grant Cardone, any of these gurus
I
that
love
like
Grant
make all this
Cardone.
money.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
big Grant
That
Cardone
dude's
fan.
great.
But I'm anti Tony Robbins. I think he's an idiot.
Yeah, I don't like him. For
But
some reason, and he probably is great, but I just don't like the way he comes across. I really don't like Gary V a little bit too. Gary V, like the message with him. I mean, but I didn't listen to him enough, so I don't really know.
and I got to retrace my previous statement because I can't say he's an idiot because he's out there making millions of dollars just giving motivational speeches.
Right,
so
right.
he's not an idiot.
No.
He's not for me. But because I can see right through his bullshit. But so this back to what we were saying about those guys like Grant Cardone and those guys like that. You'll never be successful nowadays running that normal 9-to-5 job. I don't care if
Never.
you're making $100K a year and you're working in an office and you have everything set up. Ultimate success comes from you need to have like your normal job, and you got to have about 5, 6, 7 side hustles. So like for me, for instance, like a goal of aspiration to mine,
or two good ones. Yeah.
Like I want my normal job during the day, but I want to own rental properties. I want to buy a tractor trailer. I want to and have somebody running it. I want to all stuff that I learned. Right. I want, like you said, even if I don't know about exterminating business, have somebody invest.
It's not what you love to do. You know what I mean? Like they say, like do what you love to do. But what if somebody came with with an opportunity to do something that you knew nothing about, but you can make $1 million a year?
Residual
it could be
income.
Yeah, but
income.
You don't love it. You're gonna work, but you don't love what you're doing. But it's like, so what? I don't give a fuck if I gotta whatever it is. You give me $1 million a year, I'm doing it.
Well, it's like organized crime. Like my grandfather always taught me, and he was. I'll clarify that he wasn't in organized crime, but he always told me, Scott, do something that people need. People need to get it done. So like the mob, they came in and a lot of them took charge, and which me and you talked about this from where you're from. Take charge in the trash business. You got to get rid of trash. You have to get rid of it. You think these guys want to go and flip dumpsters and smell trash all day? But there's a lot of money in it.
Right.
Construction. Do you wanna go in old houses all through the city and buy these houses at tax sale, sheriff sale, and you're knocking the walls down and there's asbestos flying everywhere? You don't want to do that. But if you're gonna flip that into a rental property, and that's gonna grow your residual income,
right?
And that's gonna boost your monthly revenue up, and you're gonna have that rental property and maintain it and keep it, and you're gonna have it for 20, 30, 40 years and keep collecting that money off of it. That's the side hustles that you got to keep doing nowadays.
And you also have to know what is it? How much do you need, or do you want? Not need. How much to live so you have to have like your goals and dreams and aspirations of where you want to be, right? So then you got to say, how much money do I need to, like, say you want a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, and you want to go out to dinner every night, and you want to take out beautiful woman, have a beautiful girl or multiple girls, right? And you want to have a decent home, not no $20 million home, just a nice house, right? How much money is it going to cost for you a month to acquire that? 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month, 40,000 a month, right? And then once you get that down, then you say, how do I make that 20, 30, 40,000 a month? And so let's just say you pick whatever you're doing to make that. What happens is once you pick that, once you start working and working towards that, other streams of money start coming at you. And that's what happens with these guys. Like they'll start off in one route of revenue, and then next thing you know, because they're working hard in it, they're meeting people, they're making contacts, it veers off into boom, now they're involved in this. And then they're, and then they're, so, and then it, like you said, it ends up to be 6 or 7 streams of income. Let me tell you something, poverty, if you're making 40,000 a year, what's the, I don't know, what's the average income for workers?
Where
40,000,
I'm from,
50,000.
they did a statistic a couple of years ago in the paper, and I think it was like 35,
Oh
thirty-three
my God. Let
thousand.
me tell you something. 35,000 a year, right? That, so you want to talk about poor? Okay, let's just say poverty, where you're almost in living on a homeless shelter. Let's just say the homeless. And then you go, so you got the homeless, then you got poor, and then you got, you can't say middle class. So you have to say like, so you have homeless, poor, and then low middle class. Because there's 2 types of middle class. It's not just middle class anymore. It's not poor, rich, middle class. That's gone. 35,000 a year, you can't live. 40,000 a year, you can't live. 50. Let me tell you something. 100,000 a year. If you got a family of 3 kids, and your wife doesn't work, and you're making 100,000 after taxes, you barely, barely, barely are getting by. Barely, right? So what does that consider you? That's not middle class. That's either poor or lower middle class. And
See,
go ahead.
you see, I feel as though, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for saying this, but I really don't care because it's my show. I'm going to say what I want. So, I personally think that, and because of the life I led the past few years, starting over, being poor is a choice. You're not poor; you're lazy.
Yeah.
Because when I see all these warehouses offering to hire people that have felonies, drug problems, anything, they're willing to start you off at $25 an hour to unload a truck, and you don't want to do it. And pretty much they're so flexible because they can't get staff. Like when I used to go drive the tractor trailer up and down the East Coast last year, I'd sit at warehouses 8, 9, 10, 11 hours because they didn't have people to unload the truck. And you see like signs on the side of these warehouses, $25 an hour. McDonald's, $15 an hour. Like, unless you have some sort of mental disability, which at that point, usually if you follow the right protocol, the government will take care of your needs for your housing and, put you on assistance programs, stuff like that. To an extent, you'll never gain wealth, but you'll live off the government. Nobody should be technically poor or homeless. You're not living.
Right.
But like these people, like, they'll say like, well, I can't work. I have anxiety. Like, what do you mean you can't work? Like, no, don't bitch that you're poor because that's an option. You're choosing that option.
Yeah.
You're choosing to justify to yourself that you're just a lazy piece of shit.
Right. And it's like laziness, and it's all tied into laziness is definitely a great word to describe it, but it's like everybody wants to, they think there's an easy fix. Oh, I got depression. I don't feel good. So they go to the doctor and they're trying to get a pill or some sort of medication to make them feel good. Okay. And when it all comes back to the person that has a depression, the person that doesn't feel like going to get that job, the person, all that stuff is look at their lifestyle. They drink sodas. They eat unhealthy. They're overweight. They don't go to the gym. They don't do anything healthy. They listen to the stupid whatever news on the TV, and they don't do anything to better their lives. If they just got to the point where they said, they went, for to see the doctor, and they said, the doctor says, well, what's wrong with you? Well, I don't feel depressed. Instead of the doctor prescribing them, say, well, first of all, you're 50 pounds overweight. Okay, we're gonna put you on a diet plan. We're gonna get you to the right. What else do you do? Oh, I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Okay, we're gonna get you off them cigarettes. Or what else? What do you drink for fluids? Oh, I drink 6 Diet Cokes a day. And what do you eat? I eat McDonald's and they correct all that, right? Come back and see me. You're not getting no medication. And now, if no other doctor, well, you know what they'll do? They'll be like, okay, he won't give me what I want. They'll go to another doctor that will give them what they want. But if they had no choice and they had to listen to this doctor, there would be no, I would say 95% of depression, all that shit would go away, in my opinion.
I fight depression every day. I go to work. If I sit there and I think too much, I get depressed. But I have a kid. I'm not going to let my kid down because I made some bad decisions of my past.
Is it depression or like anxiety? Because, like depression, like, you know what I mean? Like when you say like,
it's like a roller coaster. It comes and goes. Like it's like ups and downs. You know what I mean? Like some days, you wake up, you're 100% motivated. The next days, you're kind of like just feeling like down. You know what I mean? Like you're down in the dumps and you start dwelling on the past a little bit. But I learned, like,
Well, you said the key word right there. You start dwelling on the past.
Well, my biggest thing is, I always say, decisions of my past explains my present, and the choices of my present determines my future. So if I sit there and I stay in the past, I'm gonna stay in the past. I'm never gonna advance.
Yeah.
If I don't start mapping out the future in my present, then I'm never gonna advance myself into the future.
Right.
So if you stay, and a lot of people, and that was me for about 2 years of my life.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people too. It's not just you, right?
Yeah. I fell into that trap that when I got out of addiction, my first year, I more or less had to like reinvent myself. I had to pretty much start a new chapter in my life. I had to see what life was like on the other side. And, a lot of people, they're having a big misconception of like my show, Sober Sitdown. Sober Sitdown, the base of Sober Sitdown was to instill hope and faith in those that are willing to give up on themselves. I want to make sure that people understand that it's never too late to make those changes. When you live sober, it doesn't mean that it has to be addiction related. Like, it's more of like a pure way of life. So like, if you're going through drug, alcohol addiction, you're going through marital issues, you're being a bad parent, you're being a bad person, you're having a problem fighting the addiction of committing crimes, that all falls in the line of sobriety, to my eyes. This isn't just drug and alcohol related, the sobriety. It's a congregation of a lot of things that it could be multiple topics of things other than not just drugs and alcohol related.
Correct, yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with what you said is, and it doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. I mean, I think anybody can suffer. They think it's depression. They think it's anxiety. I think if you wake up, you have a plan, you have a routine, you're doing the right things. You're going to the gym. Let's just say you got the bottom line is staying busy. If you're staying busy, doing productive things, you won't have depression. You won't have anxiety. You have a great life. You start networking with the right people. And next thing you know, you're going to be successful in life. And you're going to be so consumed with being successful that you're never going to realize what any depression. I know what you're talking about. I knew this guy that was an NAAA type guy, and he made a lot of money. And this will probably help your viewers, like with the sober shit. But he made like enough money to live where he didn't have to work, and so the problem with him was he had nothing. He didn't have to work. He had nothing but time on his hand. So he was going to the meetings. He would wake up at 5 in the morning, 5:30. He'd do his meditation. So 5 to, let's say, 6, he got on his knees and did his prayers. 6 to 7, he showered and ate breakfast. 7 to 9, he went to the gym. Okay, I'm giving a stretch in the hours. 9 to 11, he went to a church, and he said some more prayers with a priest, and he did all that. Now, 12 o'clock, he ate lunch. 1 o'clock, he went for an hour walk. It's 2 o'clock. What the fuck is this poor bastard gonna do? I mean, every single day, he's got nothing to do. He's trying to get, and then he goes to the meetings. He goes to the meetings at night. But the problem was, he was fighting 24 hours in a day. He probably slept 6 hours, 18 hours. He was fighting boredom. I think boredom is the number one, not sin. Boredom is the number one vice that people should avoid in life, because boredom leads to everything, you know. And
me plus spare time plus
boredom.
My thought process. Yeah, boredom.
Boredom.
Is my worst. Is my worst enemy.
In spare time, what do you do? So spare time, that becomes boredom. So spare time shouldn't be. If you have spare time, then okay. So if you got spare time, what do? You say, all right, what am I going to do? Now you're bored, right? So the boredom leads, and this poor bastard, he ended up relapsing all the time because he couldn't. He could do 1 day, he could do 2 weeks, he could do 2 months, but then he couldn't do it every single day because it was just too much. He was fighting. You need to stay busy. You need to have something that is driving you to live in life, you know. And he didn't have enough to fill his day, and he ended up dying.
That's unfortunate. And you know what? People like him, you know, they try and tell you your first year of sobriety, like keep everything less complicated and run a routine schedule like he did. But I mean, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people got to go to work. Some people got to live normal lives, you know. And like that guy you were saying, every day was like Groundhog's Day. It just kept getting repeated. But now throw that guy a wrench in his side and tell him he's got a doctor's appointment during his walk time. He won't know how to handle it. And that's what throws people off. He gets out of that routine. Now his day's all fucked up. And now he starts making bad decisions. Or, like you said, the boredom end of it. You know, the boredom end of it is like, I think too many people in sobriety, because of the instant gratification, they think like, hey, I'm a month sober. Everything should just start changing. Everything should go in my direction. Everything should go my way. And the problem is you got to set short-term and long-term goals for yourself, because all your goals aren't going to get completed in 1 week.
No.
You got to have short-term and long-term.
You have to have a
like,
plan.
That's like today. Today's like Monday, and, you know, everybody hates Monday. And everybody's like, oh, I hate Monday. Well, why do you hate Monday? Because to me, Monday is your reset day. Monday's your day to look at how bad last week went and how to revamp it to make this week better.
Right.
I think Monday's like your official restart day. If you had a good week or a bad week, it's your day to get, you know, dust yourself off, get yourself reorganized, get yourself restructured, and go back at it again for this week coming up.
And for me, it's like another day, because I think like you should have enough, like once you start getting older, like you said, goals and plan, goals, short term, long term, absolutely. Those are ideas. Those are things you're working for. You should also write them down on a piece of paper. When you write them down, that's even better. And you should work towards those plans. And discipline. When it comes into discipline, you know, this is where the discipline part comes in. You have to schedule the free time in your day. It's like, dude, I woke up at 5. I don't feel like going to the gym. I get out of work at 2. I don't do nothing until 5. Well, there you go. So you have to have enough discipline where it's not even about someone trying to motivate you or someone trying to push you or you trying to push yourself. It's like, I'm going. That's it. There's no other question about it. I'm going to the fucking gym, and end of story. I'm going to meet this guy tomorrow morning. You know, you haven't also like the day before is making out your list of what you're going to do to so you know the next day what you got to do. If you know the next day you wake up, you ain't got shit to do. I mean, what, seriously, I mean, even if you don't, even if you're strong, I consider myself strong-minded. But if you ain't got shit to do, I mean, I smoke cigars. I got a lot of shit I do, and this and that, and blah blah. But I mean, it's like, what are you gonna do? You know, you got to keep yourself busy. You have to make, you have to have a plan. You have to have a schedule. You have to be disciplined. You have to do that, and stay and and focus on that. In my opinion.
And we go back to the mental health end of it, and like you talk about depression, anxiety, stress. What I learned that works for me is like you were just talking about writing lists for yourself and stuff like that. It's always good to be more organized than less organized, because when you're clutter minded
Yeah.
and you're cluttered, and when you get a cluttered brain, that creates stress and anxiety.
Right.
So like instead of going home and you know going home tonight and sitting on the recliner and just staring at TV for like 3-4 hours. Okay, I could finish my laundry. I could meal
Right.
prep for the next day.
Exactly.
Have my
Right.
meals ready.
Right.
So in case I wanna sleep a little later, I don't have to wake up and pack my lunch to go to work. I don't have to, you just get everything set up for yourself,
Yep.
And the more set up and the more organized you are, life definitely becomes less stressful.
Right.
Get yourself on that schedule. Get yourself on that regimen.
Yes.
Push yourself
Yep.
into, like you said, like, oh, I'm going to miss the gym. Well, why did you miss the gym? Stuff happens, don't get me wrong, in life. But, like, don't justify or make excuses for yourself. Like, the worst thing you can do is deflect and defend your wrongs. And
Oh,
when you start
yes.
defending and
Oh,
deflecting,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I can't stand when people justify
Yeah,
themselves
yeah.
for like own it. Just
Yeah,
own it. Like
yeah.
don't make excuses. Like don't say, well, last night when I was getting out of the shower, I slipped on a bar of soap and I twisted my ankle, so I didn't want to go jogging this morning.
Right.
No, that's not. I mean, shit happens like that, but
Right.
like that's not really why you didn't go jogging in the morning. You went because you wanted to sleep in, or you're just being, you're just justifying for yourself. You don't. Everything's like an excuse with people. I have no empathy for people that don't want to change, because like I wouldn't have made changes for myself if I didn't want to make changes for myself. And if I wanted to give up on myself, I can give up on myself. But the fact is, like, when I hear people talking about it and they're like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, but like they're not doing nothing to get it.
Right.
And they think they're just going to win that lottery ticket, go into the gas station every day. Life doesn't happen like that.
No.
The only time you will see success before work is in the dictionary.
Yeah, that's true. And going back to what you said, it's like I read a lot of books while I was in prison, and I was like that too. Like, but I did it. I did it for. I knew what I was doing. I was talking on tap phones. They wanted to know. Oh, well, who killed this guy and this and that. I'm like, oh, they think this guy did it, and blah blah blah. You're trying to deflect them, but in reality, I talk so good about it that you could justify anything in life. Anybody can justify anything, like you said. And the real thing is going in and it's like going to see a psychiatrist, but you're not going to see a psychiatrist. You're sitting in a chair and you don't have to look in the mirror. You just, whatever your situation is, just you're going inside yourself and you're being honest with yourself. And that's all you need in life, because when you're bullshitting, when you're lying, when you're trying to get over on something, when you're what you did and what you're trying to tell the people what you didn't do. That if you're really honest with yourself, you'll come to the correct solutions of your life. When you're really honest, it's called like introspecting. It's like being your own psychiatrist. You don't even need a psychiatrist. I mean, what are they going to help you with? You know what you did in life, and just own it, like you said, own it and deal with it and find a solution to it and correct it and move on.
Yeah, like I don't know. I can I went to like mental health doctors before and like psychologists and stuff like that, and they were quick to want to put me on like
Oh,
an
yeah,
anti-anxiety or an antidepressant. And guess what? That made me mentally worse
of
because
course.
that medication would like I'm a high energy type of guy, and I like it that way because I get more stuff done. When I go on those medications and stuff like that, when in the past like they were putting me on medication for anxiety and stuff, all it was doing was making me walk around like a zombie.
Yeah,
It was just numbing me.
of
It was
course.
numbing me, and really what the major problem was I was drinking too much. It had nothing to do with anxiety. It was I was drinking too much, and the
And you
drinking
admit
was
it.
causing anxiety.
And you
Yeah,
admit it.
exactly.
That's it.
I own it.
Right.
Own up to, and that's what I was saying about the justifications, the deflections, the defending. Own up to your own shit.
See what you
Look at
just
yourself in
said?
the mirror and
See what
say,
you
"I'm the
just said?
problem."
See what you just said? That's the key in life, what you just said. You discovered the problem. First is identifying the problem. You discovered it wasn't this, it wasn't anxiety, it wasn't depression, it was I'm drinking too much. All right. Second is what's the solution to the problem? It's very simple. Identify the problem, what's the solution to the problem, and then act on fixing it. And you just said it right there. You identified your problem, and now you're fixing it. You came to the solution, what you need to do, and your life is going to be 100 times better.
And like back in the day, like my family was coming down on me hard about my drinking, and they were saying to me like, please stop, please, doing this, doing that, and I went to a couple meetings. I went to an outpatient rehab, which is more like glorified meetings, and I would relapse because you know why? I wasn't there for me. I was there for them. I wasn't ready to be done yet, and this time around, I'm going on 3.5 years sober now. That was the one day I woke up and I actually wanted to make a change for me, and it was the last selfish yet unselfish decision that I've ever made. But I'm not acting like I'm a superhero here or anything like that, but something's working.
Right.
Something happened that day different than the rest of the times that I'm here talking to you today
Yeah.
about this and how I discovered what my problem was, which was I had an alcohol
You're doing
addiction. It came with drug use, but that never got me. It was the drinking was always it because I was always around it. I grew up in the business.
right.
That was normal to me. Seeing people fall down drunk, seeing people get unconscious, that was normal to me. I grew up seeing that.
Right.
That wasn't out of the norm for me.
Do you agree that first thing I want to say is so not only did you do all of what you're doing, but you're doing what I told you what my friend didn't do. So you're working, your time is busy. You got a girlfriend, you got a life to live, and now you're doing this shit. So you're occupying your time. Huge. So a lot of these people, they want to go to the meetings. I think, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not knocking anybody, but I think like what you're doing, I think like it's like a pity fest. You know what I'm saying? It's like I think like action, like what you're doing is like you're creating your own show, and you're staying busy is the best fight against any type of shit like that. But do you agree? Like no one's gonna stop doing what they're doing, whether it's addiction, whether it's being fat, and they trying to lose weight, and they said I'm gonna lose weight, or whether it's being a bad person in life, and they're gonna. Nobody's really gonna do that until they really decide internally that they're gonna do it. Do you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, unless you yourself want to make that change,
Right.
like you said, whether it's
Right.
drug addiction, alcohol addiction, weight loss, you're tired of being broke. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people bitch about being
Yeah.
broke. Okay, figure out how you're not going to be broke.
Exactly.
Stop buying $10 Starbucks coffees every
Right,
morning. Stop going on Friday nights out to the bar and spending $200. Stop ordering $100 T-shirts offline. Like stop buying $500 worth of Amazon shit that you don't need.
Start creating a side hustle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go get another job.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, there's so many. I think it was Michael Franzese was saying it, and don't quote me to it, but like the endless opportunities for you to make money and not have to work a full-time job. Like people can Uber if you have a car. Your car, you can actually have your car payment paid for. Sign up with Uber. Go give people a couple rides a couple times a month.
Yeah.
Go on DoorDash. Go deliver some food when you feel like it. You flip on the app. You go make $100 on a Tuesday night when you would have been sitting around trolling on somebody or bitching on somebody or being a jealous hater. You could have made $100 from your phone by flipping your phone on, going picking up a couple orders of food and dropping it off at people's things on your own time.
Right.
You're not on a schedule. You're on your own time, and that's like there's so much opportunity. People just won't grasp it. They just want to feel sorry for themselves and say, I'm broke. This sucks. Well, it only sucks because you're making it suck.
The worst thing people can have in life, I wish the whole world knew this. I know it, and I see people teaching it, but I learned it in prison. The worst thing that you can have is self-pity. Nobody gives a fuck about you, okay, or your problems. I mean, someone will be there to listen. Okay. What did you gain by telling somebody your problems? To get it off your chest? Okay. They don't give a fuck. It didn't help your situation. Unless it's going to be something, like I said, find the problem, find the solution, right? But nobody cares. Self-pity's the worst thing that you could have in life. Oh, poor me. Oh, I did that. Nobody cares. They listen. They want to get the fuck. Actually, you know what? They want to run away from you. When somebody keeps coming with their problems to you, right? You know what they do? They avoid your phone calls. They don't even want to pick up the phone with you. This guy's gonna complain again about his fucking life. I don't want to fucking talk to this negative bastard. You know what I mean? And no, it's the truth. I mean, it's like it's like, oh my God, I fucking picked up the phone. Hey, how you doing today, my friend? Oh my God, you don't even know it is. Like it's like you want to throw the phone off the wall. And so that's the worst thing people can do. It's like, realize nobody cares. Find the problem, make the solution, and fix it. Who gives a fuck what people think about you in this world? Nothing is really that bad. If you're fat, lose weight. If you have an addiction, quit. I mean, it's like it's common sense in life. If you don't want to go to jail for a long time, commit crimes that will only put you in there for a short time. And if you don't want to go for a long time, don't hurt anybody. Don't do any violence. I mean, it's common sense. The government tells you, don't, like what you can or cannot do. You know what I'm saying? So, like, find the problem, get the solution, and then go from there. And don't complain about anything in life, because it makes you weak, and nobody cares about you. Cares about your problems. They got their own problems. You know what I mean? They don't care about your problems. And when you talk to a real friend, that's different. When you're talking to somebody and you're that's not, I'm not trying to say like don't, but when you're talking to a real friend and you're asking him his opinion, his advice, and you respect his feedback, that's a totally different than complaining about something. Like, hey, what's your opinion? Like, I'm trying to, get to the, you're asking someone's opinion. You're not going there crying about something,
And there's two types of people in life. There's people that will admit they have problems, and people that will mask they have problems because they don't want people to look at them
100%.
and be like, they're so afraid of being judged, and they're so afraid of that self-validation that, like, if I explain my problems to somebody, they're going to judge me. They're going to look at me differently.
Right.
Who gives a
fuck?
Who
cares?
Like, that's and one of my favorite movies is The Bronx Tale, and Chaz Palminteri says it the best. Nobody cares. Like you said earlier.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
Does. Right.
I know a guy that relapsed in AA because he was going out to bars, and he was so damn concerned about what other people seen in his glass. So he'd walk around with a pint glass of Red Bull or something. And guess what happened? Eventually, that Red Bull got vodka added to it, and then he started drinking again. Right. All because he thought people cared what was in that glass.
Yeah.
And, once you stop caring about others and, you could, like, once you stop caring about what other people think of you, that's when you can start making yourself happy.
Exactly. I mean, it's hard with today's society because of the internet, right? So you could have a gang of people group up and attack you. But guess what? That's when you really got to without hard times, you don't become successful. Every successful person went through, I mean, I don't know if they went through hard times. They went through hard times. I don't know if they suffered. I think if you suffer in life, That's the key in life. If you suffer in life, I think everybody should suffer in life. If you suffer in life, I don't know. There's just something you get attuned with a higher power, and just things come to you. And anybody that it's hard when they gang up on you with social media today, because you could have them attack you on social media. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? I'm gonna be successful, and you guys ain't got two pennies to rub together, living the same fucking life that you're living, and that's your mentality you gotta have, and you keep kicking forward, and that's how you defeat them.
I mean, these are those trolls, like they live in their grandmother's basement, slamming Mountain Dew and eating
Oh,
Doritos all
well, not
day.
only that,
They're
they're
little
the
fucking
wait,
miserable.
wait, they're the worst human beings on the planet. I mean, if the people that you've seen that were like, doing the keyboard shit, they're the worst fucking people that exist.
They
So,
probably haven't took a bath in a week. They live in a
well, they
basement.
probably
They're
shower,
just
they
miserable.
probably got married, but they're probably bums. They're probably on psycho meds, like the depression. They're probably scamming the government out of money to get by, and they got nothing but free time on their hands. They're probably pussies, on top of it. You know what I mean?
That's what
You
I was
know,
saying, because nobody. That's like the old days, like in the '90s. Like if somebody was like a keyboard warrior today to me is a guy in the '90s who would block his number before he'd want to make a threat to somebody.
listen.
I'm gonna block my number and call this
Oh
guy up
my
and tell him how
God.
I really feel.
Yeah.
Like you're like that. Like no, you go and knock on the person's door and you confront them.
Right.
That's how you do it, like a man.
Right. And I would be scared of that, because the only outcome that's going to happen is one of us is going to die. So if I am the one that died, good. Okay, who cares? But if I would rather it be the one I died, because if I kill you, I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life. And that's the outcome. So, that's why I say violence shouldn't happen. You have to have some sort of, you know, the normal people can do it. Guys that are built like us, it's hard, but there's a way to get out of it. Violent confrontation. Like I don't, you just got to, get out of it, because someone's going to get hurt bad, and you just got to try to get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I've been in that situation before. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm Mike Tyson and I can take on the world and everything like that. But somebody said to me once, they're like, "Are you afraid to get into a fight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "Well, what are you afraid of the opponent?" No, I'm afraid what would happen. You know what I mean? Because like, I've been to different points in my life where I've had such bad things happen to me that I do have built up animosity and tempers and stuff like that. So like, I don't know if that's going to be the day that's going to set me over the top to lose control of myself, and pretty much that's my boil over. And how do you replay the tape, and how do you sit there and how do you take back if you permanently injure somebody, like you said, like kill somebody, put
Listen,
them in a wheelchair, and then all it takes is you white out, and it's all over.
right.
You get to a point of being so pissed off that somebody puts you in a situation that you don't want to be in, and you snap out. When you snap back in, and then somebody's dead, how do you retake that back?
The biggest for me is I'm not afraid of a confrontation. I'm not afraid of anything really in my life. I'm not afraid to die. I don't care if I get killed tomorrow. I'm not afraid of that. So the biggest thing for me is, if I get involved in that, is, let's just say, hurting the other person, not hurting, killing them. If you're going to get into a fight, and what I mean by that is, if you're going to get into a fight, so obviously you go with your hands or whatever, but let's just say you're out with your girl, and Conor McGregor, someone like that, but knows how to fight like him, right? He's with four other MMA guys, and they come up to you and they're disrespecting your girl. How you gonna win, right? You're gonna win. You know how you're gonna win. You're gonna get a weapon, whether it's a gun, machete, a knife, something, right? You're gonna win. You're gonna think in your head, because you're a street guy, these guys are abusing my girl with me being right here. Oh no, that's not happening. but they're MMA guys, right? How do I win this? Well, I go in my car, get my gun, and I'm going to come and shoot them. Or I go get a machete and I start trying to hack their arms off or whatever, right? That's how your mentality is going to be. Now, when you do that, what happens to you? It's all over
Go
the
to jail.
news that you
It's over.
fucking chopped Conor McGregor's head off or his arm off, and one of his friends, you fucking cut his hand off, and next thing you know, you're going to prison. Isn't that the biggest fear right there? The fact you might, okay, so let's just say you missed trying to stab them, but they knocked you out and they hurt you bad and you ended up in hospital. Either way, it's a bad situation. But the worst situation for me is, the way I look at things is they're gonna end up getting it, because how you gonna, would you fight Conor McGregor straight up? You know what I mean? You're gonna use a weapon. You know what I mean? I'm talking somebody that's in that situation. Like, say there's 3 guys, you're gonna fight, accordingly. So you're it's just a no-win situation, and I think,
Well, there is a win. There is a win to it when we learn through experience and in life. The right way to do it, and this would be logically speaking, but sometimes the way we were speaking, egos get in the way. The right thing to do would be to say, I'm sorry you feel that way, and walk away. And if you were with the right girl, she would respect you for that. But if a girl would want you to fight all 4 of them, that's not the girl you want to be with.
absolutely.
And that's the problem of the
No.
past. The past was hanging with bad people like that would, like a girl that would expect you to either stand up for or get the ever shit kicked out of you and get embarrassed in front of everybody.
Right.
That's not somebody you should be around.
Right.
Somebody you should be around is be like, when you walk.
But you
down
didn't
there,
grow up
guys,
like
sorry,
that. You didn't grow up like that.
No.
And I
No.
and I'm still not like that. So you have to program your mind, identify the problem, come to the solution. And when you get to that position, right? Know the circumstances where it's going to lead to. The cause and effect. Okay, this is the cause. If I do this, and it's going to lead to the effect. So you're 100% right. It's like walking away. If you can program that in your mind and getting that instilled in your head is always the best way. And that's why I bring back to the shit with the violence and the organized crime ways. The violence is no good. You notice they're not killing anybody in organized crime no more.
Well, not the Italian mafia, but like this is what people don't understand is like there's so many different types of mafia, and like there is violent mafias now. You take like there's Russian. It's like
Yeah, but
say,
name
like,
one.
Oh, you're not.
Where's the Russian? They're not existing in the United States that they're killing people and
No, I'm talking about worldwide.
100%. Yeah. That's worldwide, right? Exactly. The mafia. You don't even. It's not even called the mafia. Is worldwide. The Camorra and the 'Ndrangheta are bigger than the Cosa Nostra, and they're worldwide. And they're still when I bring that up, it's still 99% business. You might see a guy dead here or a guy dead there, but it's still business. Those are the real business guys right there. Those guys right there that I just said, that are doing it the right way.
So, getting back on subject of the people that don't know your history. So, you're about 16 years old. You started getting into organized crime, right?
Yeah.
And eventually led you up into going into the Genovese Crime Family. Would you like give a version of to the audience how you got into organized crime and like what it led into?
I grew up, around those guys my whole life, so it wasn't like I was. And I started becoming a criminal. I went to prison at a young age. I went to prison at 20 years old, 21 years old. And I went to state prison. So I got around some serious gangsters, a lot of, I'm from Massachusetts, so a lot of Boston gangsters, Irish Italians. We had our Irish club, Italian club. And Massachusetts prisons, it's like predominantly white, were, like I mean, we had everything that we needed in that prison. So I met a lot of connections. When I got out in '91, I got into the marijuana business, and that's '91 is when I was around the mafia my whole life since I've been a little kid. My uncle drove the boss of the mafia around, so I knew all about, I used to go to all the places where the mob was there. I used to go all the wise guys' houses and the gangsters' houses, but I didn't get informally involved, me being like a street guy earning money, until I came home from prison in 1991. Al Bruno was a soldier in the Genovese family of the Springfield faction, and he was a high-ranking guy. He was like second underneath the boss at the time, and he was like, we were like cousins, and he wanted me to be with him. I also had another soldier that was a psychopath type guy, and he wanted me to be with him. So I had two guys, but Bruno was the first guy to come to me, and I ended up. He wanted me to he wanted to put me on record with him, meaning like go to the boss and say that now I'm directly involved with the mafia, as being on record with them. So in '91, that's how I got formally started with the mafia, even though it started when I was a little kid, not making money or anything, just being around them. But '91 was officially when I got put on record. But I was already doing street stuff at the time. I was already, I was a major marijuana distributor, major. I mean, major, major. And I made millions and millions of dollars selling marijuana in the early '90s up until 2010 when my last time I went away. The mafia, the organized crime, was against that in my area. When I became made in 2003, I'm jumping ahead, one of the rules they told me was, you deal in counterfeit money, we don't deal in counterfeit money, and if you deal in drugs, you forfeit your life. That I was told that in '03. So people can say what they want about the mafia and drugs, but in '03, in my initiation, I got told if I deal in drugs, I forfeit my life. They'll kill me. So growing up, I was kind of like a unique version of the mob because I didn't need the mob. I was already, I already was a self-made millionaire without the mob. The mob rackets to me, I made money, but not 10% of what I made on my own with the marijuana and the other racket businesses that I had going on, legitimate businesses. But it was
So
just
do you think it was Do you think it was networking that like you got into the mob? So like you were saying, you didn't really need to be with them, but for networking purposes and to open up possible better opportunities. Is that why it kind of led to that?
absolutely
You
not.
think?
I was kind of like the stupid kid growing up. Like if I was smart at a young age, I would have networked. Now I look back and I would have said, you know what, I'm not joining the mob. I'm gonna keep hustling on my weed, but I'm gonna network with the mob, and I'm gonna because they had all the connections. When I met all the gangsters in New York and all the things my guys had, the upper guys had, there was you had to be a moron not to make money with the connections that they had. So networking, I was stupid. My thing was I didn't network. I didn't need them. My thing was I already had nightclubs. I already had restaurants. I had a huge marijuana business. I was already a millionaire in the '90s. I was a millionaire at 27 years old, cash millionaire, where you could look at it, millions of dollars that you could see. So it was like, what do I need? But if I look back today, see, like what you said earlier, wisdom and knowledge as you get older. If I knew what I knew now back then, two things: I would have never joined the mafia. I would never violently hurt anybody, and I would have networked with them. That's what all the smart guys did. All the smart guys did what you just said. They networked with them. Listen, when you're the boss of a powerful organization, say everybody wants to meet the CEO of a corporation. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, or all these big time guys. You just want to get to meet them because whatever you're involved with, they can help you, right? The mob was just like that. The mob had connections, but only where the small guy could make thousands, if not millions of dollars on the streets, cash money. So, you know, the networking of organized crime was where it was at. I was dumb. I was too dumb to take advantage of that. I was, because I was like, I don't want your help. I don't need your help. I make my own money. I don't need you. I believe that's how I ended up getting made in the family, because I was self-reliant. I was independent, and I was capable. I was a capable guy. And I think that's what got me liked by the older bosses in New York, and also my guys in my area. They could see that I was a capable learner. I made lots of money. I was able to bring and network in other violent guys like myself around me. We were capable of violence, but we were also capable of making millions and millions of dollars on the street. So networking, no. For me, okay, so what you asked me was networking. No. What it was for me was stupidity. It was like growing up as Italian in my area, the number one thing we wanted was, oh yeah, the mafia, be a made guy, right? So that was the ultimate goal. And it was at the time and era that it was still in existence. It wasn't like today. Nobody wants to fucking be made. Are you kidding me? I don't want to be made. It was still in the same time frame that and in my area I had like one rival that was like made, and he came from Italy. So I had my crew. This was a way to solidify me, where we never had any issues and problems, because I had a nightclub in Connecticut, and there would be like patriarchal guys from Providence or Boston causing a problem. We'd have to go to a sit down with the boss of the patriarchal family, and so it would be they would say, well, you got to go see this guy for what? What'd I go see him for? I own the club. Oh, because it's mafia. If you're not made guy, they won't sit down with you. And then it came up. So I kind of joined, and then also I liked the camaraderie of it all. I liked the fact that we had a secret society. It was us. I loved that. I liked that brotherhood. If you could call it a brotherhood, that you really loved each other, but nobody loved each other. We all hated each other and wanted to kill each other. So there was like it wasn't like a true brotherhood. You know what I mean? You're better off going out networking and creating friends and, real friends. But this was like a brotherhood where, any slip, this guy's looking to chop your head off.
But like you say, brotherhood, and like I told you earlier, I've not, and you know this from talking to me from the past month. We've been on the phone with each other, and it's like I have nothing but the utmost respect for the mafia. And we spoke about this, me and you, is the guys now they don't play by the rules.
So
there's no reason to want to be a part of that.
But you know what though? That's kind of like not true too, because we don't know what happened back in the day. We don't know if I heard it did happen.
You know what I mean?
Listen, I know stories where it did happen back in the day, where the guy killed the girl's husband so he could get with her. I know stories where the guy, I know for a fact, I'll tell you this for 100%, Joe Messino was the boss of the Bonanno family. He was bringing up the wife of one of his captains to go visit them while the guy was in jail. And on the way back, he was stopping in an hotel room and he was fucking her. So, I mean, that was a boss, and that was before he flipped and everything. So, I mean, I don't believe that's true. And in my area, 100% not true. I don't believe back in the day they had any more values. I just think that they were more scared because of the structure back then. I think the structure back then was the boss. He calls you in, he'll have you killed. What a guy in my area, I'll give you an example. Good, friends of mine growing up. His The boss of the family was Sam Kafari. They called him Big Nose Sam. And he had a wife that was a lot younger than him, pretty girl, this and that. One of my friends, their father was fucking her. And she was giving him all kinds of money. He was, this guy was like an up-and-comer wise guy. This guy was going to be the guy. Forget about all the other guys. This guy was going to be the guy. Fuck Bruno. Fuck this guy. Fuck that guy. There was the greaseballs from Italy. They were going to, and his father-in-law was a high-ranking soldier in the Genovese family of the Springfield faction. Skyball Schiavelli, notorious, known everywhere. Anybody can Google him, look him up, and everything. The guy was known everywhere, just like Bruno was known everywhere. Well, anyways, this guy ended up having an affair with the boss's wife. They killed him. Dead. Found him in the river. So I mean, when you go back to the old days, I don't think anything from the old days, back in like, the existence of time, nothing's changed. I think the mafia, like you said earlier, if you take those old bosses and you put them today, they wouldn't last fucking 2 years. Done. Carlo Gambino indicted, 30 murders, 30 life sentences. Done. Tony Accardo, same thing. Done. They don't last. They're not lasting. They were smart. They were quiet. They were low key. Don't care how low key you are. You're done. Especially those guys, because back then, they had they had to meet people back then and everything. So yeah, so that's my take on that.
Yeah, just modern technology with crime and everything like that. They just got too advanced, and there's no way that kind of stuff would exist nowadays. I'm not saying that they wouldn't be able to pull some stuff off, but the majority of it, no way. I mean, anytime you're making money, the government's breathing down your throat. They'll catch you in a heartbeat. I mean, they might not catch you today, they might not catch you tomorrow, but eventually you're going to get caught. There's no long-term shelf life for anybody that's committing any sort of fraud. I mean, you get backed up on your taxes.
That's what I'm saying. You don't need to be an organized crime figure. They could arrest 90% of the United States. Not arrest, but they can indict 90% of the United States. 90 for some sort of violation of, like they just hired 87,000 new agents, right? How many guys do you know?
It's for a purpose.
Right, but we know that. But how many guys do you know that are going to work and they got a side landscaping business on the side? You think they're reporting that money? Those are the guys that they're coming after.
No, that's what I mean. I didn't mean there's a purpose, like it's justified. I think it's totally when I see that there's 700 people crossing the border a day that aren't going to pay taxes because they're not citizens, and you're worried about And this
taxpayers.
I don't want to get this into a big.
No.
I don't want to get this into a big political because my take on it. What just happened with my family and stuff like that. So like the day you were made, how old were you, and like, was it like how Hollywood portrayed the ceremony? I mean, if you don't want to go into detail, I understand, but if you want to talk about, is it like how they say in Hollywood? Because I'm getting mixed answers. Some people say it is, and some people say it isn't.
I don't know what Hollywood. I never seen Hollywood, any of that shit. But for me, it was. I got made in 2003, August 11th. So I was 35 years old. I got made August 11th. August 12th, my daughter was born. And it's funny because one of the things they say is, if your wife was giving birth, and we called, the family called for you, you had to leave her. If your wife was dying, if your wife was giving birth, and we called for you, would you leave the bedside, and come report to the family? And obviously, say yes. If you kill your brother, if we told you to kill your brother, would you kill your brother? And of course, yes. And it's funny because my wife gave birth the 12th, and it was almost the same. I got made the 11th, and she gave birth the 12th to my daughter. So, I got made in 2003. It was a big thing for me because it wasn't a big thing for me. I didn't really care. Everybody says, like, It's a big thing. Anybody that was Italian, especially in my area, I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. Um, Small city, but around everything. We're next to everything. 2 hours from New York City, an hour from Providence, an hour from Boston, an hour from Albany, 20 minutes from Hartford. We're an hour from New Haven. We're around all these bigger cities. So if you're Italian and you were a criminal, my age group or older or younger or whatever, your main goal was to be a made guy. So I ended up becoming a made guy, and not only did I become a made guy, but I became a made guy in New York City. I got made in New York City by the bosses in New York City of the Genovese family. That's unheard of. The guys in my area, like say the Genovese family is the most powerful family there is. So they have factions in New Jersey, Florida, Massachusetts. When a guy gets made in that family, they have the captain in that area, which is a Boston area. So let's just say the New Jersey, he's a boss in New Jersey. Massachusetts, he's a boss in Massachusetts. He's really a captain in the family, but he's a boss of the area. Okay, so when they usually have the bosses, your captains in the area make you. So if you're from Jersey and me and you are from Jersey, I'm the boss, and I want to make you. I will have you come to, I will make you in New Jersey. I'll get permission. They'll send your name around, make sure everything is good. But we'll do the ceremony in New Jersey. I got made in New York City, in the Bronx. So that was a special thing for me. It was it gave me direct access. It made me the most powerful guy in my area. Because who's the most powerful family? The Genovese family. And who cares who's the most powerful? They're one of the five families. They are the most powerful, but let's just say they were not the most powerful. They were second, whatever, right?
They're the
Right.
biggest too, right?
I
They're
got
also the
made by
biggest.
the bosses of that family. What does that make me? That makes me more powerful than their own soldiers in New York City because I got made by the boss in New York, and I'm direct with him now. So when I go back to Massachusetts, I don't answer to nobody. I answer directly to the boss of the family. That makes me the most powerful guy in my area, and with other families also because even the patriarchs, they look at the Genovese family as they're more dominant, and they listen. I've been with patriarchal gangsters. They fucking respect the shit out of the Genovese, the family. So for me, I got made. It was a good thing. It was a bad thing in the long run, but it's the ultimate goal. If you're a criminal and you're Italian, that's the ultimate goal. There's no other ultimate goal if you're Italian. What are you gonna do? Join the Bloods? I mean, you know what I mean. So for Italian, you're gonna join the mafia. And yeah, I mean, it was a ceremony, lasted like 10 minutes. All the same stuff you probably seen on other news stories or whatever. It's, the burning of the finger, which trigger finger you pull to kill somebody, gun and a knife on the table, burning the stain in your hand, repeating after the boss, and then explaining a couple of rules. And, that's basically what it is.
The boss during that time, like when you were in the Genovese, like that would have been Chin Gigante, right?
No, it was Chinjiganti was the boss. He was in prison. At that time that I got made, they were using a panel of bosses. What they do is, well, there was one boss, and he was under indictment, going to prison or whatever, and then they started using a panel of bosses, to run the family. That's when I, came in. Chin Gigante was, and the Genovese family, they won't ever let you. They're very secretive, which is, today. I mean, you have to be. it's like chess. You have to be way ahead of the game when you're making guys. Back then, they used to introduce everybody when they made a guy. So they would bring them around and, hey, tell the Colombos, tell the Lucchese's, tell the Bananas, we Gambinos, this is a new guy we made. Genovese family stopped doing that. Then they stopped. I know I had to give my information. They for some reason they wanted your information. I had to give them uh, my name, my address, my home line, landline telephone number. I had to give them that because they want to do their you know I don't know why they even would want that. I mean, I grew up here my whole life. What are they going to discover by any of that shit? Um, but they don't go around passing information like that as to who's getting made. They don't introduce anybody. Actually, when I was there, the Genovese family didn't, really acknowledge anybody besides, I think, the Gambinos. I don't even. And back then, the Gambinos were going through a ton of shit too. So it was, that's how they handled things.
Yeah. So, what are some like futuristic aspirations that like goals that you set for yourself right now, where you're at your point of your life? Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in the near future?
I see myself better than I was in my past. Better shape, physical, uh, more financially. I want to have myself. I want to make more money than I made in my past life, which is probably not going to happen. It was just I made so much money in my past, but I want to live the same way I lived in my past, only better legally. And that's what my goals and plans are.
And before we wrap up, what are some words of advice you'd like to give like a younger audience, people that are thinking that it's still a good idea to get into the game or to take that shortcut to try and gain that success without having to put in the work?
I would say definitely for the young kids, young people, because we all know it's about the money. When you try to tell a kid, you know, don't do this and they don't give a fuck about, my situation and what I went through. They want to know, where's the money? How do I make the money? And how do I not go to jail? And that's what I would tell them. Pick something that you're good at. Uh, Hopefully legally, legal what you're picking. Don't pick any, drug like hardcore drugs or any of that shit. Something, and then hustle your balls off doing it. Network. Don't burn bridges with people. Always look to make, if you meet a piece of shit, he's a piece of shit. You don't have to become a piece of shit too. Don't burn bridges. Just keep moving ahead, meeting people, trying to put the right people in your circle, grow the circle. You might not need them today, but 5 years down the road, this guy might be like, you know what, I know this guy, blah blah blah. Build your circle, build your influence, pick a profession that you think you can make money in, and become the best at it. If you're not going to school to become a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, don't even go to school. Don't take no loans out for any college bullshit unless you're becoming a doctor or lawyer or I don't know what other profession that you need that stuff for. Um, Pick a profession and it's listen. At the end of the day, it's all about money. Everyone wants to say money don't make you happy and money. They're full of shit. You know what I mean? They really are. I mean, it's all about money. When remember the movie Scarface? And I was talking with this badass girl too, and I was talking to her, and I didn't know she finished it. She was a young girl. He goes, first you get the money, then you get the power, And then she goes, then you get the pussy. And the girl's the one that said it. But I mean, it's true. Like, you got to get the money first. You know, you know, all these guys that get these beautiful girls, Instagram models, if they didn't have money, they are getting none of them. I don't give a fuck how good looking they are. Girl finds out that, yeah, you're a good looking dude, but you work at fucking McDonald's, or you're whatever. You think she's fucking with you? And then she gets this other guy, he's whatever, dressed nice, whatever, and he's worth 25 million. So I mean, money is the key. Whatever you can do to hustle and become successful, that's the advice I would give. And that's going to defeat all the other demons. Think about this, right, Scott? You even said it. If you're got an addiction problem, what's the number one thing to combat your addiction? Is keep him busy. What's the number one thing to keep him busy? Making money. If you're keeping busy and you're making money, that's the number one combatant. So you're destroying two evil. You're destroying one evil and becoming successful on the other hand.
Well, here's the thing that, to touch off that, I think like mutual advice that we can give the audience is, me and you both know what it's like to make money and hold money in our hand. I mean, obviously, you made a lot more money than I did, but at one point in time, I was making pretty good money when I owned my own business for a little while. And I didn't get to keep that money, though. I didn't get to hang on to that money. So I think it's instilling in the young kids that make that money legally, try and make it legally, do the right things, but look at long-term, the consistency of whatever it is you choose. Give 100% of your effort and do something that's going to continuously make you money, not fast money that could be swept away from you. And then you're like, now what do I do? And now you got to start out at the, it's not bad to start back out at the bottom to build yourself back up to the top, but making more wise decisions, rather than, okay, like, I'm going to pick this that's going to give me 80 grand a year versus I could be a drug dealer and make 200,000 a year. That 200,000 a year that I make as a drug dealer can get swept away from me at any time. I can go away for a while, and that guy that's making 80 grand a year consistently could surpass me and make more. I'm going to win the rabbit race. He's going to win the turtle race.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's like you said, the bottom line is money. For me personally, like I said, the crimes that I said aren't. Listen, you're not going to jail for those crimes. I can prove that too. When I say that, with no violence, you're not going to jail for the crimes that I said. Bookmaking, sports bookmaking, numbers, and loan sharking. With no violence, you're not going to go to jail. First time offense, you're going to get probation. But you're right, 100%. Pick something that you're going to go to jail. Work your ass off. And here's a key point. Keep your antennas open, because opportunities are going to come. When they come, slam them.
Don't be afraid to take risks for the right reasons, though.
With the right opportunity. I mean, if somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, they sell you some fucking dream that's too good to be true," it probably is. But when you know that somebody comes to you with an opportunity, I'm not missing this. And I'm investing in this shit.
I hear a lot of older people talking like, I should have did this, I should have did that, I should have did this when I was younger, and I could be this, this, and this. But those are the people that, when they were younger, they were afraid to take risks, and they didn't take the risks when they were younger, so now they regret it now. I don't want to be, if I get to be that old and I get blessed, to be that old, I don't want to be the guy sitting in the recliner waiting to die saying I should have did this, this, and this. I'd rather take the risk, set myself back a year or two, and then rebuild myself rather than live with regret.
I agree 100%.
So don't be afraid to take
I agree
risks.
100%. I'm a risk taker my whole life. Obviously, I proved it by the stupid life I lived. But even right now, I'm a risk taker. I will take a risk. Right now, if you tell me something and there's risk involved, I will do it. But it's got to be I'm smart now. I have knowledge. I have wisdom. I know what's, I, I can figure things out. You got to come to me with something that's, oh, this makes sense. If it makes sense, I'll take the fucking risk. I'll go in. You know what I mean? But not some like these stupid like something with crypto. I made money with crypto and I lost money with crypto. The money I lost with crypto was the bullshit assholes trying to fucking, you know, tell you something that was too good to be true. And then the money I made with crypto was the hard work I put in, and you know, I took an opportunity, I seen it, and bang, I pounded it, and I made a lot of money. So it's like it goes. The opportunity comes. Don't be afraid to take the risk. Absolutely, as long as it's not one of them pie in the skies bullshit things.
No, I mean, like, if a kid has a dream to open, like, he goes, he's like, oh, I want to open up a small takeout restaurant.
Yeah,
Like, don't be afraid to try it. It might work, it might
right.
not. But don't be afraid, because there's a possibility that you're taking a risk that might set you back a year or two, because it might put you in debt for a little while if it doesn't work out. And, that's me, for instance. Like, I went out when I was in my late 20s. I went into a partnership in a business, and it set me back for like 3-4 years after the business closed down. But I know if I open up another business entity, I know that I'm going to come back stronger because I learned from my mistakes. I learned what the right and the wrong way to things to do. And unless you experience failure, you can't create success for
Exactly
yourself.
right. You got to go. Every successful guy failed, and not even once, probably several times. You know, there's very rarely you'll see a guy that became what he became and never failed in life. I think when you fail, it makes you. Everyone has to fail in life at some point, whether it's fucking up like I did and failing that part, or failing in a business and starting a new business. I agree.
And just, it's like, you just got to come to realization that, like, some people, sometimes it comes easy to some people and it comes hard for others. Like, I know some people that never hit a rocky road. They, grew up in money. They got good educations. You know, the they followed the narrative, followed into family businesses that were already created, and really haven't hit at this point a rocky road. And I kind of feel sorry for people like that go through their whole life and they didn't experience a failure or they didn't hit a struggle, because later on in life, when that day comes, because like you said, everybody's going to hit a struggle eventually. When they hit that later on in life, like say in their 50s or their 60s, they're not going to know how to handle that because they've never experienced it before. So that's usually when people at a later part of their life, like, you see, I fucked up when I was young. I'm happy, but I'm happy for that. I regretted it for a while, but I'm happy about it now because I know that moving forward, as long as I don't turn back to my substance abuse, I don't think I could fail
Well,
again. And I won't allow myself to fail. So, like, these people that never experienced a struggle or some sort of obstacle, if they hit an obstacle or a struggle down the road, I think, they're pretty much fucked.
100%. And let me just tell you this: my life growing up was kind of like, I had a successful family, so I didn't have to worry about food and shelter and a place to live. And but I still didn't have my own money. Anyways, I made my own money. I made millions of dollars. I never ever suffered in my life. Like, I went through bad times, like we all do. I lost my yacht. Maybe that was a bad time. But for me to say I suffered, I never suffered. I never had a sleepless night in my life. When I went to jail in 2010, I faced a death penalty. I still didn't have a sleepless night. And I murdered people. I've done bad things in life, so I never had a sleepless night. I'm being honest. When I put my head on the pillow, I slept. But it's like you just said. You're gonna go through hard times. Hard times don't mean like I could handle hard times. Like somebody said, "Oh, you killed somebody." How do I could deal with that. Maybe 80, 90% of the people couldn't. Okay, so I could. But when it comes to breakups in relationships, when it comes to that type of stuff, you're going to deal with hard times in your life eventually. And I dealt with it while I was in prison this last time. And let me tell you something, it's a motherfucker. I mean, I don't give a fuck. I was in my 40s and I dealt with it. It's a fucking, as sharp as I thought I was a made guy. I was a millionaire. I was this, I was that. It's like when you lose your parent. If you lost your father, somebody could come up to you and say, my father just died. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Until you lose your father, you don't know what they suffered. You don't know that loss. When you break up with in a relationship with someone you love, you don't know that feeling. Oh, my girl broke up with me. Oh, shut the fuck up. Blah 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 blah. Until you go through it, somebody you love, and you go through all that shit, right? With kids, with this and that. Until you go through it, so you're 100% right. You have to go through it, and you're gonna go through it at some point of your life. It's better to go through it when you're younger, in your teens. That's all I can say. It's better to go through it when you're in your teens, because that will create a better person out of you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Most of my decision making today comes from the mistakes I made when I was young. But with that being said, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you for coming out with us tonight. I want to thank everybody that's going to watch this episode of Sober Sitdown. I hope you guys got some laughs, some inspiration stories, and some motivation to keep moving along and not give up.